Greetings to you, all our viewers. Welcome back to Breaking the Silence, actually, and kitchen sink issues. Today, as you can see, I have a very, very special guest, and it is my pleasure to be sitting down with a friend, my sister, Ruvimbo Marikano. I'll start with doctor.
No, in the
In the
making.
making, okay. Mrs. Ruvimbo Marikano. Just to give you a brief background, how the two of us have come together. I actually was invited, to Spring of Hope, Breaking the Silence by Mrs. Ruvimbo Marikano. And so when we launched out the very first video, I was on the set. But we did that in the context of how she conceptualized what God had put upon her heart for us to deliver to the society. And a few maybe weeks thereafter, again, she allowed me, she gave me permission to start something, on my own. That's the confidence that she had about me, which I didn't have for myself. But that's what saw the birthing of Kitchen Sink Issues. And having had the two of them go on for this period that we have been running them, we have come to a place where we've realized that both are very important issues that we are highlighting in our society today. And the plan is that we give each its due attention and its own space to grow. And so we are here to discuss, one, the journey from when we started to here, and where are we going from here. You can say a bit about who you are, so that at least people can see that you are the brainchild of all this.
Yeah, well, as you said, Ruvimbo Marikano.
Yeah.
I'm a community psychologist, so obviously my passion would be mental health, right?
Yeah.
So how we started, I've been wanting to, bring awareness to the communities about mental health, specifically trauma.
Yeah.
As I've worked with a lot of people, and I realized that a lot of problems that we have are stemming from childhood stuff, experiences that they've had in childhood. So that was the driving force behind that. And then just looking at who can I partner with, who will be able to articulate, what I want articulated there, and be able to just give a perspective, not from a psychology point of view, but because I knew that you work a lot with a lot of people, you counsel people, you've met all sorts of people from all walks of life. So so it was just such an honor to actually have you and to work together with you.
And I hope I'll continue to work with you.
Of course.
I'm looking for a job there now. But for my own interest and for the interest of our audience,
Yes.
what issues have you experienced that really drove you to say, let's highlight these issues, let's raise our awareness about these mental health issues, particularly that which emanates from childhood traumas?
Okay, so initially I started working, I started my career in psychology at Annex, at Paranyatwa Hospital. Right?
Yes.
And about 90% of my cases that I handled were substance abuse. Okay, and when I would speak to the clients or patients, I discovered that a lot of them, not all of them, some of them would get hooked because of peer pressure and all that, but a lot of them, it was coming from a broken home, something that had happened in their youth, in their childhood, or something, like maybe witnessing abuse on somebody else, their parents having going through domestic violence, being abused themselves sexually, emotionally, or even physically. So even at that stage, having learned about trauma, I had not actually caught on to the idea that where trauma comes from, where does it stem from, right? So reading and seeing the effects, then I started getting very interested in what are the causes of trauma. So I would see that a lot in substance abuse cases, and then I also worked a lot with orphanages. And the background of most orphans is loss, right? Parental loss, and that's one of the major or huge traumas that a child can go through. So, and yes, even living in an orphanage is a trauma on its own as a child.
Yes.
So all those things, you look at the children that are coming from orphanages, a lot of them struggle to fit into society. A lot of them struggle to launch.
Yeah.
You find that a lot of them even drop out of school or early pregnancies, So yeah, that's where, like, just me being curious, Lord, where is this? What can I do? What can we do? What can society do to help people so that with the hope that when people understand where trauma stems from, we'll parent better.
Yes.
And those that have gone through trauma will have an understanding that there's nothing wrong with them per se, but it's what has happened to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure some students will look at our show today and they will wonder, is there any statistic on a scale of 1 to 10? If you get 10 children at Annex, how many would fit the description that you are giving out of 10, say?
Really, I haven't seen any studies in Zimbabwe of trauma, but internationally, people. If it's you and I right now sitting here, if I gave you an adverse childhood experiences questionnaire, and they say if you have 4 or less, or less than 4, you've had a pretty good childhood, and 4 and above you've experienced trauma. Chances are
both of us
be in the 7s out of 10. But definitely in the Western world where a lot of assessments have been done, prevalence is very high. I can't give you figures right offhand, but definitely.
What would be the play by our culture, our way of raising children? What influence do you think that would contribute towards childhood trauma?
Okay, our culture, we've got a very good culture as far as I'm concerned.
That's good,
Whenever I go maybe for conferences or training out there, the problems that I hear parents or people talking about, like children that's talk back, children that are the levels of unruliness of children out there, and when I compare it with us here, even in schools, we've got children in schools, but they've got their own way of behaving, but not the crazy, scary kind of behaviors. So for me, it's because of our culture. We have a culture of respect.
Yes.
We have a culture of Ubuntu. In as much as we might not sit down and be like, but just the way that we live our lives, we care about the next person. We take care of other people. Mairanganai, right now, or maybe as you were growing in your marriage or as you're progressing in your marriage, I'm pretty sure that you did not just take care of your 2 children only.
True. Oh, yeah.
That's our culture, right?
Yes.
Just giving and just being there for each other.
Yes.
You know that somebody's got an ear. You know that anyone in the family can correct you.
Yes.
And certain standard of behavior is expected of you. And you grow up just knowing that. There's certain things that you just can't do as a child.
So to our viewers this afternoon, if I'm hearing you correct, you are saying there's a lot of good in our culture.
Yes.
Particularly in the area, in the aspect of parenting.
Yes.
Which we must not lose.
We must not lose.
We must not lose. We can modernize, we can, I don't know what other words exist, but we cannot afford to lose that which we have, from our culture. Particularly that aspect that it's very easy for us to raise another's child. And it takes our village to raise one child. Even my own child, it was more than just myself, to raise that child. Even now as they are adults, it's not just me who's overseeing their livelihood.
You've got other people having
yes
input.
And
so even when you saw a child going astray, it was not hard for you to go and be like, Mwana wamkhoma, no, you come here, come to my house, and you sort them out. Right?
Yes. And so our encouragement today is, please do not isolate yourself in your own little sphere and parental style and eliminate other people. So it's because of the magnitude of the issues at play that we felt that, there is a lot for us to discuss in a way of raising awareness, and let's give breaking the silence its due space.
Yes.
And I'm really grateful that you have come along. And yeah, here we are. Do you have questions for me today?
Yes.
About kitchen sink issues?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to ask you. So, when you look at the issues that you've been discussing, I saw you spoke to the children.
Yes.
Do you think, when you come from parenting, do you think the way that you raised your children is generally how everybody's raising their children?
Wow, that's a very good question. I don't know, hey, honestly. I would imagine there's a greater percentage of people that have that kind of perspective because of our culture. We may differ in the finer details of it or the delivery of it, but I think by and large, in Zimbabwe today, I think that people are making greater effort to ensure that our children are well cultured and well directed, in life. And so I would say that I think by and large that's how people are raising. Yes, people will need help, but I think we are not far from.
Yeah. So for me, that's how I look at us in Zimbabwe. The one thing that we have is we are connected to our children.
Yes.
We are connected to our children. I think this is something that then when you're connected, you're able to have an influence, to have influence over your child.
Yeah.
You can direct a child.
True.
Because you're connected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I saw that a lot. I could see the connection, even with our daughter-in-law in love. Yeah, I can see the connection. Yeah. How was it?
It was
interviewing.
Just as well, our viewers. The very first one was with my daughter. She actually asked for it. She actually said, because she was around, she doesn't live with us here anymore. But she was around, and she said, "Don't you want to have a session with me?" And I'm like, "Oh, why not?"
Yeah.
But once I talked to her, then I realized what would be the excuse of not interviewing the brother.
Yes.
And then once I interviewed the brother, I thought, then what will? Yeah, I have another daughter, and let's just give her a chance as well. So really, it's just like you're doing. It's just to raise awareness. In the context of our culture, the deliveries of the parental style is predominantly the same as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
It's just the finer details that we have to learn and alert each other, that guys, we can do better, because we can, and we have done better.
Yeah.
And as people watch, these shows, then they will be able themselves to do further researches into how best they can raise their children.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main focus, maybe not the main, but one of the core focus areas in Kitchen Sink is daughter-in-laws and mothers-in-laws.
Yeah.
How has that been for you?
It's been a very interesting journey. I think the very first one that I did really carries the truth of my journey. That it's a growth phase, it's a transitionary phase, and it has to be treated with respect. Because I realized that I don't know why or how I imagined that this girl will come and will be just like my child. That was my perception. Only to realize that actually she's not mine. She's a whole adult coming to my space as an adult woman. And how does she automatically become my child? So I've learned that I need to allow a season of growth, she knowing me and I knowing her. And I realized that in that phase of the both of us growing in this relationship, I had to appreciate that it will start as a transactional relationship. I am because of, we are because of. It's not something that flows naturally, that hi Chido, I'm just checking in. No, it's because of. And also to appreciate that we actually created the because of, so that at least we would be in each other's space as much as possible. That was one big thing that I learned. And then the other thing that I learned also was that it's actually possible, you know, for the two of us to have a healthy relationship. It's something intentional. It's something that I have had to be deliberate about. Also coming from the point of view that, you know, as a Mairwadza, I mean, I don't want to be a prayer point. I don't want someone to declare fast because of me, you know, or going up a mountain because of me. No.
You
It's,
know,
you can.
you've been my mentor in that area, and I'm sure you know that.
I know.
I feel like God sent you in advance of what I was going to go, you know, receive. As my son hadn't married at that time, but for some reason, I think every week you'd come to my house, Mairanga, and tell me about your experience. Not so much experiences, but just your perspective on relationships between mother and daughter-in-law.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I do.
You tell me, you know, like, you know, all these nuggets. And at that time I was just listening, but I knew that mine was, you know, stuff was happening in the background for me. And I really seriously took everything in. And it actually made a difference. It really did.
I suppose that's the drive. Because I honestly believe that there is good in all of us.
Yes.
However, that good can be interfered with by these life experiences.
Yes.
And I really believe that there are people or mothers-in-law and even daughters-in-law, their intention was to harm no one relationally. But because maybe things were not emphasized enough, they found themselves in that space where it just was not working anymore. And so I've made myself an ambassador for that relationship.
And you're doing a good job. You know what? You talk about experiences, life experiences or childhood experiences.
Yes.
You know, they say that childhood experiences, trauma is healed. Trauma is created through relationships.
Yes.
So it must be healed through relationships.
That's a good one.
So for me, I'm thinking, okay, I've got a daughter-in-law who comes in. They've got their issues, right?
Yeah.
If I deal with them at the level of their issues, it's gonna just get worse.
It won't work.
But I can be deliberate about creating a relationship with them.
Very true.
And allowing them to heal through the love that I share with them. Through just, you know, being real, genuine, and receiving them, like you said, as an adult, and not a worker or a competitor, you know, or
competing over who now?
but you know, out there. But once you've received them as your child, but also as an individual and adult who has agency. So you allow them to come into your space, and your focus is on building a good relationship.
That's true.
They can actually heal.
Yeah.
You also have your stuff. You can also
my
heal.
own baggage. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Like I realized personally, speaking for myself, I realized that I'm very limited in as far as bringing people very, very close. I'm okay at arm's length. I'm people might actually think I'm very good, but it's always at arm's length. Whereas this particular relationship, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, it can't be at arm's length. It has to come in. And I realized that I was also very afraid, you know, that is it going to work? How is it going to work? You know, is she going to receive me? And if she doesn't receive me, what am I going to do? So as much as I didn't want to be a prayer point, you know, a cause for somebody to pray and fast, as a problem, I also didn't want for her to be for me. I also didn't want for her to become my prayer point. Every time I'm meeting, I'm thinking, pray for me, my daughter-in-law. No. If I have to cover her in prayer, I'm covering her because of a journey in life that she's walking, not because the relationship is problematic. And so God has come through. It's not easy. I don't want anyone to think it's easy. It's not easy, but it's doable.
It's doable.
Because you've done it.
I've done it, and I'm enjoying the relationship that I have with my daughter.
Yes. So we're saying if the two of us have done it, you've helped me, I've helped you, and we're doing it together. As a community, we can do it. And as a society at large, we can do it. And we can change perspectives. So, hey, because of the gravity of the matter, we really felt that let's give these two it's each its own life,
yeah.
and we will carry on like that.
Yes.
So
It won't be surprising to see me again as a guest
yes.
here, and seeing Mairanga and I on Breaking the
Yes.
Silence, because
Yes.
as you can see, actually the issues actually intertwine. You know,
True.
when we talk about daughter and mother-in-law, people. That relationship can actually be a cause of grave
Yeah.
mental health issues.
Oh yes.
Right?
Oh yes.
So there's a lot
yes.
for us to talk about.
True.
There's a lot of people need to hear whatever it is that we can bring to the table.
True.
And I must say you're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. We are doing a good job.
We
We
are.
are doing a good job.
Yeah.
We're doing it together. And I just want for our subscribers to know that do not unsubscribe from Springs of Hope.
Yeah.
Actually, just come over and subscribe
Yes.
to Kitchen Sink Issues.
Yes.
And so that the two will grow, like I've said. And also to say, normally I start off by reading a scripture, but we had to get this, off our chest, and I'll definitely bring in a scripture in the next session. But thank you so much for coming, Ruvimbo.
Thank
and
you.
welcome back home.
Thank you. It's
Been gone
lovely
for
to be
too
back,
long.
and it's so good to be here as a guest.
Yeah, no, welcome. You're most welcome.
Yeah.
Here we talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
Nothing intellectual.
Yeah.
Just life issues as
Yeah.
we live,
And we need
But
that.
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. We will see you in our next session. Thank you very much.